On behalf of the International Committee of the Rotary Club of Colorado Springs, which has included Rotarians Karen Adams, Anna Kasich, Andrea Trout, Charlie Brown, Carol Bach, Catherine George, Steve Kidd, David Finkelman, Michaela Smith, and Jean Feist, and me, I'm very happy to introduce Jean Feist's program today on Nicaragua. I want to just give you a little bit of background about how we got here. Our committee has been meeting over the last year or so focused on two things: water projects. We've been receiving information about many types of water delivery systems. And we've developed preliminary criteria for our club to evaluate a water project, including cost, cultural acceptance, sustainability, and opportunities for our club's growth. We've been gathering information and learning. We haven't been forming opinions or making decisions or making recommendations. We have a desire for an international project that will expand the impact of our club on the world and capture the heart of our club. The second thing we focused on as a committee has been a service trip. We conducted an electronic survey of our club, and we asked you what your budget might be like if you were going to go, how much money you would be willing to spend, how much time you had to give to a service trip, where you wanted to go, and what you wanted to do on a service trip. We solicited proposals from members of our committee, and we received proposals, and we considered Ethiopia as a destination, Pakistan, Nepal, Azerbaijan, Kosovo, and Nicaragua. And it was tough because there are people on our committee that have close ties to each of those destinations. For example, I wanted to see a trip to Ethiopia. That wasn't practical for a service trip for this club. Steve Kidd has ties to Pakistan, and we as a committee wanted to build a bridge and will in the future to a Muslim country, and maybe it will be Pakistan. We all know that where we choose to go may result in a project there. We made a recommendation to the board, and the board accepted our recommendation based on the criteria that you gave us for a service trip. This trip will be an exciting opportunity for Rotarians to experience another part of the world, and as Rotarians, and see existing water projects, evaluate those projects, and eventually, after returning, make a recommendation to the club based on the four-way test. So I'm very happy to have Jean present Nicaragua.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity, fellow Rotarians. I'm going to tell you a little story about Nicaragua.
We reviewed the presentation. Ready?
A little faster.
Yep.
I'll speed up the tempo a bit. Have you ever visited Nicaragua? You will be amazed at the geography, the people, the business opportunities, and the culture. This is a bountiful, beautiful country. We invite you to visit and enjoy the experience. Nicaragua is the largest and most sparsely populated of the Central American nations. Honduras lies to the north, Costa Rica to the south. It is slightly larger than New York State. Nicaragua is mountainous in the west with fertile valleys. A cordillera of 50+ volcanoes span the country from the northwest to the south central. Two lakes, Lago de Nicaragua and Lago de Managua, are connected by the Tipitapa River. The Pacific side is volcanic and fertile. The swampy Caribbean coast is aptly called the Mosquito Coast. Two departments, which are similar to our counties, comprise the Caribbean side. It is the least populated section of Nicaragua. Nicaragua, set between the Pacific and the Caribbean, is the largest Central American nation known for its dynamic terrain of lakes, volcanoes, and beaches. Vast Lake Managua is the iconic stratovolcano. Momotombo sits north of Managua. The capital to the southeast is Granada, noted for its Spanish colonial architecture and archipelago of islets, popular for sailing and bird watching. Managua, the capital city, is situated on the western shores of Lake Managua. After the earthquake of 1972, the former center of Managua was completely destroyed, and presently there is no real city center. New shopping malls and hotels were rebuilt on other locations. Managua is enjoying a major evolution. The city has changed dramatically during the past 10 years. Shopping malls, service banks, billboard campaigns, hotels, and high-class restaurants are available and thriving. New investors are strong, new construction abounds throughout. Managua is emerging as an attractive city for investment opportunities. The Plaza de República. The old center of the city, known as the Plaza, is partially intact. The impressive Cathedral de Santiago, the Presidential House, a sparkling modern building, and an even more impressive building, the National Palace. The cathedral was damaged in the earthquake and has been unoccupied since 1972. The Presidential House is used for meeting with official visitors. The president actually lives several miles from this location in a much less impressive house. Recent renovations and new construction include the Puerto Salvador Allende. It lies on the shores of Lake Managua. The recent remodeling and expansion of the port is complete with marina, lake excursions, shops, and restaurants. Along with remodeling, Managua is making an effort to clean up the lake, which has been overpolluted for decades. Baseball is the most popular sport in Nicaragua. The First Lady, Rosario Murillo, was the catalyst behind the development of Luis Velasquez Sports Park. This is a facility for all ages. Venues range from basketball and volleyball courts, baseball diamond, to shuffleboard and chess. There's a dedicated playground with every kind of apparatus for all ages of children. All secondary schools have baseball teams. In addition, there are 14 baseball camps throughout Nicaragua that recruit the best players to be coached and trained and ultimately drafted by U.S. pro baseball teams. Dennis Martinez is a former Major League Baseball pitcher. He played in the Major League teams from '76 and '98 and was the first Nicaraguan baseball pitcher to pitch in the majors. Granada, the jewel of Nicaragua. It was founded in 1524 by Francisco Hernandez de Cordoba and is one of the first European cities in the Americas settled by the Spanish. It has become one of Nicaragua's most appealing urban tourist destinations. Visitors to this city, which sits on the shores of massive Lake Nicaragua, will find themselves dazzled by the wealth of historic architecture that lines the city's plazas and cobblestone streets. The cathedral in Granada is one of the oldest. It was built in 1583 and destroyed in the 19th century, only to be rebuilt again in the early 20th century. The central plaza, always alive with activity from live music to outdoor festivals. The Cathedral of Granada provides an iconic backdrop to the city's cultural life. The archipelago of Islas de Granada was formed after an eruption from the volcano Mombacho about 4,000 years ago. There are boat cruises providing an interesting and easily accessible view of the islands. Many of these are privately owned and improved with exquisite and luxury residences. The Laguna de Apoyo, a short drive from Granada, a lake created by underground springs in an extinct volcano. Many residents that reside here are expatriates. From the top of Catarina, you can see Lago de Apoyo. Catarina is a town filled with orchards, plant nurseries, and artist wares. Coffee in Nicaragua. Some are calling this the coffee revolution. Since coffee came to Nicaragua in the mid-1800s, it has played a significant role in Nicaragua's economy and environment. Coffee has been an engine for Nicaragua's economic development process. It is among the nation's primary source of foreign exchange and provides the economic backbone for hundreds of rural villages. More than 4,000 coffee farm families cultivate this golden bean. The coffee sector employs about 340,000 people, equivalent to 15% of the labor market in Nicaragua. In 2014-15, coffee production reached over 2,060 kilogram bags. This is Nicaragua, the land of lakes, volcanoes, and beaches. But the real reason that we're here and attending this presentation is water for Nicaragua. As Donna explained, is that the International Committee decided that this was the time to venture into a water project someplace, and Nicaragua came to be the most viable, considering cost for a service trip and time spent on a service trip, also costs and implementation of the ultimate water project. Rural families were desperately waiting for the rains that should fall in May to October. But this year and the prior 4 years, the rain was scant and sporadic. A former executive of Enecal Water Facility told the local newspaper that another problem affecting water supplies is the lack of investment in the water system and poor water management. El Crucero is the proposed community to receive the water project. It is located on the summit and slopes of the Sierras de Managua, southwest of Managua. Its urban center is the town of El Crucero, with most residents living in the rural hills surrounding the town center. Nearly a third of Nicaraguans do not have access to potable water. In rural areas where 72% of people lack such access, citizens must often procure water from shallow wells, rivers, streams, and lakes that are polluted with residential sewage, pesticides, and industrial toxins. Cities and villages are subjected to frequent water outages. The Central American country with the most abundant water source and where water, agua, is even a part of its name, is suffering one of the worst water crises in half a century, fueled by climate change, deforestation, and erosion. Maria Esther Gonzalez is one of many residents whose daily lives are affected by the water shortage. She lives in a poor neighborhood where piped water is available for 1 hour each day. She hasn't slept well for the past 4 years because she has to be alert and ready when the water starts to run, anytime between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. She has 1 hour or less to fill containers, wash clothes, and clean her small home before the pipes run dry again. But sometimes 3 days go by before the water runs, and the water and sanitation utility has to distribute water in tanker trucks. Rural areas are even more desperate. People have to walk long distances to find water. Every 20 seconds in the world, a child dies from a water-related illness. An estimated 4,100 children under the age of 5 die each day from diarrhea due to dirty water, malnutrition, inadequate sanitation, and poor hygiene. Worldwide, women spend an average of 2 hours a day collecting water. That is time that they are unable to spend working at an income-generating job, caring for family members, or attending school. Drinking contaminated water is endemic in Nicaragua, which is both the largest and the poorest country in Central America. Rural families often drink untreated waters, sources from polluted rivers and streams, water that frequently contains disease from animal and human fecal matter. In 2010, World Health study found that fecal contamination of water sources is a serious problem in Nicaragua. We can help. Access to safe drinking water is a key step to building healthier communities, increasing productivity and school attendance, and enabling sustained economic growth. When communities gain access to clean water, not only are lives saved, diseases are significantly reduced, translating to a population that is healthier, better educated, and more productive. Every 20 seconds, a child somewhere in the world dies because of polluted, contaminated water. Thus, the International Committee is offering a service trip taking place in January 2017. There is information on the table, a proposed itinerary and a registration form. The itinerary will include meetings with Managua and Granada Rotary clubs, inspecting several water projects, including El Crucero, and of course some sightseeing. Rotary has established a criteria that must be met in order to qualify for an international grant. Several members of the committee have completed the grant seminar and are qualified to submit a grant. Several grants for water projects have already received district and international and have been reviewed and serve as a guideline. Now I'll open this up to questions.